Hi again. This is Management Communication in 4, Module 3, Mass Media and Advertising. And today we are doing Lesson 8, the techniques used by propagandists. Now remember that in the previous lesson we said that propaganda is a technique used by people to convince the audience of something, and they often deliberately use untruths or underhanded means, and they do this for their own gain. This is very prevalent in politics, where people vie for the public's vote. So the next lesson will contain a lot of political examples, but this is my disclaimer, and please, I do not support any political party. I am apolitical as a previous reporter, so just keeping the objectivity. But there are such wonderful examples, especially in the recent South African history, that we cannot look past them. So propagandists are very smart people who use certain techniques to get people to believe their message. And the first thing that they do is they use stereotyping. Now remember that in module 2, I think, we said that stereotyping is when you assign certain characteristics to an individual because he or she belongs to a specific group. Like, we believe that all Chinese people are good with karate, or we believe that all Indian people have a shop, or we believe that all blondes are not as intelligent. Jokes like that. So a couple of years ago, there was a slogan, "Kill the Boer," that was all over the place, and it was used quite often, and it does come down to hate speech, because if you have to look at this objectively without any feelings, the word boer or boer in Afrikaans, it means farmer. It simply refers to somebody who works and lives on a farm, who produces things for us to eat. So this calls for farmers to be killed. But are all farmers white? Are all farmers racist? Are all farmers against the greater good? So that word, it kind of stereotypes it and it generalizes. It puts everybody into one little category, and that's what propagandists do. They bunch people into categories, and they point the finger at those people. But we'll talk about this more a little bit later. So the second technique that's used by propagandists is the substitution of names. Now, I'm not sure. 2 years ago, 2018, around about there, in the State of the Nation address, when Mr. Jacob Zuma was still the president of the country, a certain group got up and they started slurring at him, and they called him Mr. Zupta. Now, if you go into the history of South Africa, you will know that there was large controversy with the Zuma family and the Gupta family from India, somewhere, that there was a lot of corruption and, things going on. So by merging the two names together, by calling Mr. Zuma by this name, President Zuma at the time, by this name, by merging the two names together and substituting his identity with this made-up identity where he cannot be separated from the Gupta family. You will forever, when you hear this, forever associate him with corruption. So that substitution of the name there worked perfectly for us to have a negative idea when you think of old President Zuma. Thirdly, selection of facts. As in manipulative reporting, only some facts are reported. So, and this is done to distort or to change the messages in a negative manner. Just before President Ramaphosa became the leader of the ANC, a story was run in the national Sunday newspapers that said that he had, President Ramaphosa, Mr. Ramaphosa at that time, had a number of girlfriends. I think it was about 7, and he was a blesser to them, supplying them with money. But if you, the truth is that Mr. Ramaphosa's businesses did give some young people money. But if you looked at the truth, it was that he had a bursary fund and he helped young students to get education. But the story was reported in such a way that it seemed as if Mr. Ramaphosa was giving this money in an improper manner. Fourthly, generalization, and we're going back to kill the boer and kill the farmer. Again, I ask, are all farmers evil? Are they all racist? See, the propagandist makes a sweeping statement that applies the information given to a large group of people, whether they behave negatively or not. But they are included there. Generalization. Number 5, the propagandist appeals to authority. They use testimonies of people who are in authoritative positions. Now, this passage here is one of my favorite nonsense pieces ever published, because it just shows you. This was published on a joke site on Facebook, right? But people took it very, very seriously because it's signed by Pastor Henny. And who are we to not believe a pastor? Somebody took this piece of this post and posted it and shared it widely, and it was just so ridiculous because people believed it. And this claims that Mr. Ramaphosa, there's a picture later on, that Mr. Ramaphosa at the time wanted to become the president of South Africa because he wants to legalize dacha. And in the same post, they it's just so ridiculous because it says these people who want to legalize dacha are Satanists and they care nothing for the South African economy and they only want to legalize dacha, and say what you will about President Zuma. At least he never legalized dacha, so he's not a Satanist, and it is signed off by Pastor Henny. So this pastor is telling all these untruths, but because he's a pastor, who is supposed to believe him? Then, next up, propagandists, they pick one person and they pick one individual and they blame him for everything. I mean, there was a time in this country where poor President Zuma at the time was blamed for everything. If there's a pothole in the road, Zuma. The starting time of the news changed, Zuma. He was, because he had that controversy around Nkandla, it was just easy to blame him for everything that went wrong in the country. The petrol price rises, Zuma. So it was just easy to do that because of that one transgression that he had. So obviously he caused everything else to go wrong. Then number 7 is repetition. If you say something over and over and over, it's going to stick in your mind. The State of the Nation address comes to mind again because there's a certain political party who loves to disrupt the proceedings. And the one year, they kept on repeating, pay back the money, pay back the money. And someone would ask them to keep quiet. And the response would be, but pay back the money, pay back the money. And I swear, it's like 3-4 years later, and all I remember of State of the Nation Address 2017 or 2016 is pay back the money. So it kind of, it sticks in your mind. You remember something when it's the same thing being repeated over and over. Number 8, assertion. This is when the propagandist makes a strong and powerful statement. You leave no room for questioning. Now, so many examples come to mind here, but I'm going to leave you guys to Google this for yourselves because I don't want to get involved in this. Just Google it. It's interesting. Go to previous DA leaders and previous ANC Youth League leaders and that feud, and it's a gold mine. Then number 9, downright lying. We're going back to the appeal to authority, and here's the picture that went with that little article. There is our now President Ramaphosa, and they specifically say, look at his eyes. His eyes are so red, so that means he must smoke weed. And I mean, where's the proof? How do you even prove this? So yes, we see that propagandists use all these techniques to make us believe things, to change our minds about things, just so they can get their way. They can get you to follow. So to recap, the techniques used by propagandists, and they are all there: stereotyping, substitution of names, selection of facts, generalizations, appeal to authority, pinpointing the enemy, repetition, assertion, and downright lying. So, email me if you have any questions about this lesson, yevkeister@gmail.com. My Google Classroom code where you can download these slideshows is WUOTD3I. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye.